الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له الملك الحق المبين وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله سيد ولد آدم أجمعين صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه الطيبين الطاهرين وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. As we continue in the next narration, the author Sahl ibn Sa'id al-Sa'idi, the great Sahabi, Sahl ibn Sa'id al-Sa'idi, that the Prophet ﷺ mentions that أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لا يزال الناس بخير ما عجل الفطر, that the people will never cease to be upon good, and they'll be upon that khayriyah as long as they hasten the fitr, as long as they hasten the breaking of the fast. With the Tirmidhi min hadith Abi Hurairah, that the Prophet said that it was mentioned that the Messenger of Allah mentioned said that Allah Ta'ala said, "Ahabbu ibadi ilay a'jalahum fitra." The most beloved of slaves to me is those who hasten, or the most people who hasten towards breaking their fast. Then you have on the authority Anas ibn Malik قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم تسحروا فإن في السحور بركة. It said on the authority of Anas ibn Malik that the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم mentioned and said, what everyone? He says, take the pre-dawn meal, for verily in that, when that pre-dawn meal is barakah. On the authority Salman ibn Amr al-Dabbi عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إذا أفطر أحدكم فليفطر على تمر فإن لم يجد فليفطر على ماء فإنه طهور. رواه الخمسة صححه ابن خزيمة وابن حبان والحاكم. The Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم said, if one of you is to break his fast, then let him break it upon dates. And if he does not find it, then let him break his fast upon water, for verily it is pure. So these narrations, before we actually start and explaining them, I wanted to talk about the conditions that we stopped at for the lesson. Because all the fatwa, or what we're going to give and information that's going to come, is based upon these points. So we said that there were 6 conditions, right everyone? How many? 6. As far as in regards to what we said about one has to be Muslim in order for the fasting to be accepted, and I think that's clear and that's evident. All the ayats in the book of Allah Ta'ala and all the ayat in this regard that establishes that siyam is not valid except from if one is Muslim. I think inshallah bi'idhnillah that is what? That is clear. The next one that we said, or the next condition inshallah that we said, that it is to be what? Baligh. That he has to be at the age of what? One has to be in the age of puberty, which we'll talk about inshallah in a couple of minutes. But I wanted to talk about what they call al-aql. That's what I wanted to speak on before we get inside of puberty, which is pertaining to one's sanity. So in regards to what we mentioned inshallah, the reason why we'll find that Ahl Ilm put this category of one being sane, due to the hadith that we know that the Messenger of Allah said, رُفِعَ الْقَلَمِ عَنْ ثَلَاثٍ, that the pen has been raised until what? Off of 3. The pen has been raised and lifted off of what? How many people? 3. Who knows the hadith? The first one is? Of course. It says, Al-Majnoon حتى يعقل. What's the second? Al-Na'im حتى يستيقظ. What's the third? Not impressed. Jayyid. Also the one who's in what? The child until what? He reaches the age Is that it?
Or discernment. Being able to distinguish between
طيب. The point of the hadith is the one who's sane until what? A person's insane until he returns back to his what? His sound state of mind, or his sanity returns back to him. طيب. The reason why you will find that Ahl Ilm talks about this, because this is an important point. Because you will have people who's majnoon and those وَمَا يُلْحَقُ بِالْمَجْنُونَ. The one who's insane and those who also take the hukum, the ruling of being insane. Such as what they call al-hadarat, or what they call ma'tu. The one when the person reaches the age of which we know, which is widespread now these days, may Allah protect us, what they call Alzheimer's. A person can come to the point where he as if he's like a stone wall. Even though his heart is still beating, but it's as if he has no senses. He can reach, it's like a, like almost become like a vegetable, basically. That person also likewise takes the hukum of majnoon. It takes the same hukum. Doesn't have to fast, and the pen is raised off of that what? Particular individual. Right, everyone? So he's taken off the one who's ma'tu, or the one that we will talk about, inshallah. Anyone that is not in the right state of mind, in which they said at that particular state, that he is not binding upon him to what? To fast. We're going to talk about the details of that, inshallah. Don't worry. The reason why I'm teaching this because I'm going to give some examples. And once the examples I give, you'll be able to answer them based upon what I'm explaining. So once you have these principles, now we're going to start applying them. Give you different answers, different questions. And based upon what you learn of these conditions, inshallah, you'll be able to answer it. So the first one is, like we said, he has to be Muslim. The second one is what? He has to be sane. Because a person now, in certain instances, will find that a person, let's just say, as a matter of fact, I'll give one example now. You'll find that a person might be in a state of where he's insane during the day, or for example, then he might return back to his right state of mind the next day, or he might be in a state of insanity for 2 days. Then what about when he comes back to his right state of mind another day? Like he loses his mind on one, and then he regains his sanity another day. What do we say about this person? Does he have to fast the month of Ramadan or not? As far as in this regard, we say, Ya ma'ashal ikhwa, based upon this condition, if he's majnoon, or if he's crazy, and he returns back to his right state of mind, as long as there's some type of period of time where that person is sane and he's in his right state of mind, then he has to fast. Because that's what they call the pen of which is now starting to write, on which the angels are writing down what he's what's in his ability to actually perform, because he's in his right state of mind. So the days where he's majnoon, where he's lost his mind, or him or her has lost their mind, where they insane, is the time where he does not, or she does not have to have to fast. But the person who's in their right state of mind, then Then he has to fast. So if the person now comes one day, like we said, a couple of days, or certain days of the month of Ramadan, might have lost his mind. So in that instance, he does not have to fast. Don't worry, we're also going to talk about what's pertaining to if a person passes out. We're going to talk about all that. It's going to come, inshallah. A person, if he passes out, or if he's in a state of a coma. All those details are going to come. But if he's in a state where sometimes he loses his mind, and then sometimes he regains his sanity, then that person, like we said, Ya ma'ashal ikhwa, during the time where he's sane, in his right state of mind, he has to fast. When the time where he's lost his mind, where he's in a state of insanity, then he does not have to fast. Based upon the hadith, where the Prophet ﷺ said, رُفِعَ الْقَلَمَ عَنْ ثَلَاثٍ وَمِنْهُمْ الْمَجْنُونَ حَتَّى يَعْقِلْ. That the pen has been raised off of 3, and from them that he said, alayhi salatu wasalam, the one who's insane until he returns back to his right state of mind. Now, we talked about in regards to al-wasf al-thalith, so the third type of description. We return back a bit. I'm sorry, everyone. Which is called the stage of puberty. No, I kind of skipped it. I skipped over one and I flipped it, came back a bit. I'm sorry. Because that was the actual second. The second one I think was puberty. And then the third one was what? Insanity. I basically flipped it, Sheikh. No, one was him be Muslim. But, exactly. Now we go back again if you want. I told you I just skipped it. Anyway, we're going back to the other one, which is what? Now we're going to go back to puberty. In this regard, during the time of the Sahaba, as we know, when a person is underage and he's not, the signs of puberty has not been manifested. It has not manifested itself yet. We said those signs is what, everyone? Number one, what are they? The signs is hair around the private part. Number two, wet dream. Number three, 15. And the fourth, if a woman, is her mens. We talked about all these signs do not have to manifest. One suffices. Because some women and some people think that it has all four of these signs, or all three of these signs, as far as a woman for. But all three of these signs have to be apparent in the male. That's not the case. One sign displays, manifests, it's enough. Start growing pubic hair around the private area, then it's what? It's a clear sign that the male has reached the age where he's a man, in which now the duties of Islam have become binding upon him to perform. So, in regards to the time of the Salaf, which the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, did they used to now allow their children to fast? Yes, they did. But did it suffice for an obligatory fast or a fast that is legislated for where the duty or the responsibility or the duty that Allah has made for where one is rewarded or he will be punished if he doesn't do it will now come into play? We say no. Rather, the only reason why you'll find that during the time of the Sahaba, that they used to now allow the children to play with a little toy if they would cry while they were fasting in order to busy him from not thinking about the hunger or what have you. In a later age, of course. Not for a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, but however, when he gets a little bit of age where you see his strength, then one can what? Give him a toy or what have you to... Alhamdulillah. Where one could give him or her a toy in order to busy him so he will not think or she will not think about the fast. But they used to allow the children who were young to fast in order to get them acclimated towards the fast. Until, like we said, they used to give them a toy in order to busy them from not thinking about the fasting, whether if they were hungry or thirsty, what have you. So, as far as sin al-bulugh, the age of puberty, for one now, the child, if he was to fast, that would not suffice for the obligation for Ramadan, due to the fact that he does not have what they call bulugh. He does not have what they call the actual age of puberty where the actual duties have become binding upon him or her, where they be held accountable for it. But however, if one wants to allow them to do it, in order to have them acclimated to the siyam, then there's no problem with that. If you feel that they're at an age where they're strong enough to handle it, or to get them acclimated towards doing it from time to time or what have you, then one can do so. So that's another important part that we just mentioned. Now, the other condition was what, everyone? Having the ability. Now, in regards to what they call ability, or the physical capability, as far as in regards to the physical capability, then we have what they call man ajzuhu, min ajiz, that he has the incapability, or I'm sorry everyone, he has the physical capability, of course, that he can have the physical capability where he's able to fast. Now we're going to go and talk about the conditions that goes against that. What now, the question, because one needs to now know, what is incapability? What is it? What is incapability? Incapability is number one, the first category, is what? One that is sick to the point where the sickness is always with him. The sickness, he's more than likely that comes to his mind that he will never be cured from ever. Is it clear what I'm saying? That type of sickness is they call ما لا يرجى برؤه وهو يلازمه دائما. ما لا يرجى برؤه ويلازمه دائما ومما يغلب على ظنه أنه سيستمر معه بقية حياته. That he thinks that more than likely in his mind that it's going to stick to him for the rest of his life. Of course, you think he will never, more than likely, never be cured for it. For example, cancer. For example, type 2 diabetes, or what have you. Those things and those affairs are what renders one incapable of fasting. Of course, we know that there are cures from these sicknesses, but however, the more than likely what comes to a person's mind that he will not be cured from them. But those type of sicknesses renders one incapable. He does not have to fast. And there's other different types of sicknesses that restrict a person from fasting, which we'll talk about later. But anyway, the first category is a sickness in which he more than likely thinks he will never be cured from. Ma la yurja bru'u. He would think in his mind, or overtakes his mind that he would never be what? He would never be cured from. Like we talked about, we gave examples of that, such as what? Cancer and, for example, diabetes or type 2 diabetes. And all these affairs goes back to a specialist, in which you'll find that Ahl Ilm do refer back to a non-Muslim specialist in order to seek consultation in these type of sicknesses. There's nothing wrong with seeking consultation from a non-Muslim in this regard. There's nothing wrong with that. But the condition that he is what? That the condition that he is reliable and he's an expert of what he knows. He has expertise. He's a specialist. So one would consult with him and he will direct whether or not he can fast or not. Because some people, I think, have a light type of diabetes. And if they take from what I understand, they have a type of pill that is what? That they take before they start fasting, that will suffice them. Or something to that effect. Or some insulin, they just need a light bit of insulin or something to that effect. But, عَفَانَ اللَّهُ إِيَّاكُمْ مِنْ ذَلِكَ. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cure us if one is tested or not test us with that at all. But if one is tested with it and it's a type of diabetes that's serious, type 2, then he does not have to fast. Rather, fasting for him will turn into another hukum. It could be haram. It could be haram for him due to the fact that he's exposing himself to halak, to him dying. In that instance, then the whole hukum would change. You understand, everyone? So that's the first category of incapability. For a person that more than likely thinks he will never be cured. Number 2, مما يغلب على ظنه أنه سيعافى من هذا المرض. Oh, from the second category, I'm sorry everyone, from the second category of more than likely he thinks that he will be cured from a particular sickness. From a light sickness. Or it can even be somewhat of a heavy sickness that's temporary also. Shaykh Uthaymeen also gives some good details in this regard about sicknesses and how they break down into different categories. I wanted to read it quickly. So you have the second type or category, which more than likely one thinks that he'll be what, everyone? Cured from. This breaks down into 3 categories. This breaks down to what? 3 categories. Hold up for 1 second, everyone. You all right, sir? You okay? Okay. I just had it on the page and I lost my page. I just had it. Must have closed it. Just excuse me, everyone. I just had it. Here it is. Alhamdulillah, I just found it. Now, he said, the marid lahu ahwa. So you have the first type of sickness. This detail is not in here. This is real important because I want everyone to know this. You have a first type of sickness, number 1, that أَلَّا يَتَأَثَرَ بِالسَّوْمِ مثل الزكام اليسير أو الصداع اليسير أو وجع الضرس وما أشبه ذلك. فهذا لا يحل له أن يفطر وإن كان بعض العلماء يقول يحل له لعموم الآية. طيب. ولكننا نقول إن هذا الحكم معلل بعلة وهي أن يكون الفطر أرفق به فحينئذ نقول له الفطر أما إذا كان لا يتأثر فإنه لا يجوز له الفطر ويجب عليه الصوم. To the end of it. The first type of sickness is that he's not affected, he's sick, but the fasting, with him being sick, he's not affected. For example, he has like a light type of cold. It's real light. It's not that big of a deal. It's a little stuffy nose, a little light headache. Might have a little pain in his tooth, or toothache. It's a little light ache, not a little light ache in his tooth, or what have you. Or anything similar to that. You find the great Imam that he mentions, it says here in this instance, it's not permissible for him to what? It's not permissible for him to what? Break his fast. This first category. That's the first type of what? Sickness. Even though some Ahl Ilm do say that it is. But he said, however, this hukum, or this ruling, he says it's justified due to a reason. That when Allah Ta'ala allowed the person to break his fast if he's sick, due to which ayah, everyone? The ayah which is in Surah Al-Baqarah, as we know. Whoever's on a travel or he's sick, as Allah Ta'ala says, right? من كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخرى, right, everyone? Whoever's upon a travel or if he's sick, then a time after the month of Ramadan where he can make it up, right, everyone? طيب. A person needs to know what type of sickness, though. We need to know the details. So the first category of sickness is what? Of what is a sickness, or more than likely, he knows that more than likely, inshallah, he will be cured from. That category breaks down into these categories, to these three. Number one is a light sickness. A light what? A light headache, light cold, little stuffy nose, what have you. That person can what? Still have to fast. طيب. Second type of state. الحالة الثانية إذا كان يشق عليه الصوم ولا يضره فهذا يكره له أن يصوم ويسن له أن يفطر. Now listen to this. It's the second type of what? State of a sickness. Like a light sickness or a sickness in general that's temporary. If it's difficult upon him to fast. إذا كان يشق عليه الصوم ولا يضره. He says that he has some difficulty upon him to fast, but it doesn't harm the fast or what have you. He said, but he does find difficulty. He says here it is detested or hated for him to fast, and it's sunnah for him to what? Break it. He finds some difficulty. He has some difficulty. But it doesn't kill him. It doesn't harm him to the point where he's going to die. But here, it says it's detested for him to what? To fast. Because he does have some difficulty. And it's sunnah for him to what? To break it. No. I mean, I think that's kind of like a little bit self-explanatory, brothers. There is some colds. I think people have had sicknesses in our bodies of when we tried to fast, and when you'll find that it was a little bit slightly difficult if one was fasting during the duration of the day, where it was long, and maybe one I had a cold where it was, like we said, he was coughing a lot, sneezing a lot, coughing up mucus, but to the point where it did not what? Then this was going to kill you. But you did find some type of difficulty, some type of hardship. Here the person can what? Here we said that it's detested for him to what? To fast. The third one is to the point where it's difficult, and it also, if he used to do it, it harms him. It harms him. It harms him. This category, take this category and switch it. Put it with the category what we discuss about a person who's what? No. The person that's incapable where he has a sickness that will last for him forever. That's it. Such as a person that has, for example, he has to do dialysis because he has no what? His kidneys failed. Those type of people do not fast. Rather, he has to what? He has to feed. Person that has failed kidneys or what have you, do not fast. At all. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? They do not fast. Rather, fasting can become haram upon them. Or for example, like we said, has a sickness, diabetes, whatever, rather you'll find that sawm is haram upon them. A question a person might ask, what do we say if the person now still, is he sick in all these circumstances, all these three circumstances that we mentioned, and he does fast? Does it now, will it suffice for raising upon him the responsibility or the duty where it will what? It will suffice, whereas he has given Allah Ta'ala his right. Is it acceptable or not? We say yes. It is acceptable. It is acceptable where he took the duty and raised it off of him or herself. But however, if one takes the rukhsah, the actual permission that Allah has given him in order to what? To make it easy upon him, then in his particular instance, he should take the rukhsah. Take what Allah Ta'ala has given as a permission to what? To break his fast and make it up on another day. However, in regards to the one that more than likely he will never be cured, then that person would suffice by just what? By just feeding. And that's it. So that's in regards to the person that's what? Incapable. غير قادر. فالذي هو غير قادر هذه هي أحواله التي ذكرناها قبل قليل واسلفنا في ذكرها قبل قليل. هذه هي أحواله كلها. That's all their what? Their states that we just mentioned. Right, everyone? So a person that's sick, he's incapable based upon the details that we just given. So it's not just what general, but however, it has some details in it. So just to sum up everything again, we have a person that's sick, whereas what? He's not hope that he'll be cured from it. And then you have the second that more than likely he thinks he will be what? Cured from it. The one that the sickness clings to him forever, where he knows more than likely he'll never be cured from it, then that person does not have to what? Fast. But the person who more than likely he thinks he's going to be cured from that sickness, then it depends on what is his condition. If he has difficulty of fasting, and he's going to also be harmed, or he might not harm or kill him, but he finds a great difficulty, then he can, if he wants to what? Break his fast. He can break it and make the day up later. But if it's just a little minor sickness, little stuffy nose, little light headache, a little bit of toothache or what have you, then a person should still try to complete his fast. Jayyid? Thought we'll stop here because I think we've been going on now for about an hour and some change, which I don't mind. So if people want to keep going, I keep going. Oh, you want to stop or we want to continue? What time is the adhan? I think it's about 9:14. Brothers, again, please don't forget your Bulugh al-Maram. If you come to class, don't forget Bulugh al-Maram. Don't forget your book. That's not Bulugh al-Maram. Say it again. Don't forget it next time. You have to bring your books. Your books is important. Books. It's like I don't know what it is about a lot of communities I've been to. It's like it's hard to get people to bring books to class or bring their books to class. I don't know what it is. I'm not talking about you specifically. I'm talking generally. It's hard to get people used to bringing books. Because all you got to do is bring your book and just write your own notes inside the book. So it stays with you. I don't think nobody's a huffaz like Imam Ahmed, but he has all the 100,000 chains memorized of weak, da'if, and mawdu'. Nobody's like that these days. So we all are human. And PDFs on your phone too. You can download the PDF, is free. If you go to Waqfiyah or one of those type of websites, you can download it as a PDF on your phone easy. It's easy. In the App Store too? In the App Store. It's a lot of them. You could use that one too. Right, we'll stop here. Questions about the lesson? You did? You raised your hand? Tafadal. Go ahead. No problem. Was you going to say, Jamal? You was going to say something? If he doesn't make his intention. No, you'll find that Ahl-Ilm say that a person that does that, he still has to refrain from food and drink today. But he still has to make the day up. No, you'll find that a person that make his niyyah, he's still, due to the fact that he's still in during the day of Ramadan, and he broke his fast due to him being neglectful, that he was to still refrain from food and drink until the sun goes down. Until the sun goes down. But he still had to make the day up if he didn't make his niyyah.
So if a person didn't make his niyyah before he went to sleep.
Take this qaida we're going to talk about. Anytime a person breaks his fast in a manner that is not legislated, he still has to abstain from food and drink that day. Because he did it in a manner that went against the Sharia. Whether it be just eating intentionally, or drinking intentionally, or being neglectful as far as his niyyah, or smoking, or drinking, anything haram. He still has to, for that particular day, abstain from food and drink. Now, if it's something that's legislated, like, for example, we just discussed sickness, or a woman being on her mens, or, for example, he's traveling, or her and her are traveling, he can eat and drink during the day of Ramadan. He can eat and drink and even be intimate with his wife, especially even while he's traveling. If he's traveling, his wife and him are traveling. Both. They can eat and they can drink. All the details are going to come, inshallah.
When you said that, if a person is insane, you don't have to fast until you become sane.
Say it again.
The person, is insane at a period, you don't have to fast until he comes back, his faculties back.
Uh-huh.
Right? So, during the time that a person got his faculties back, do you have to make that day up?
Absolutely. And that particular day, if he didn't start the siyam before Fajr, and he regained his sanity in the middle of the day, he has to remake that day up.
So even if he was just out of it for 2 or 3 days.
You mean insane or
insane.
Absolutely. You have to make those days up after the month. And if he can regain his sanity during the day, he still have to make it up. Because it has to be the siyam, what is legislated is from Fajr to when the sun goes down. Not in the middle. So a person after the month of Ramadan, he'll make it up. As long as he has the ability where he has instances where he has his right state of mind, then he has to make those days up. And he will make them up after the month is over. As far as a person that's in a coma or things of that nature where he might have passed out, we'll discuss that. That's details that'll come, inshallah. Because you have different instances where it might be a person might have passed out, could be for a couple of minutes, could be for an hour, might have been a half an hour, it depends. If he passed out due to something that wasn't that wasn't his fault, the siyam's still valid. You can continue it during the day. Well, details, we'll talk about it later, John. We'll talk about it later. Because it depends. It depends on the certain circumstances we'll talk about. Some people are in comas for months. Are those people are what? Obligatory to fast? We'll talk about that, inshallah. The details will come, inshallah. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك